Hi guys, sorry, got interrupted back there. The dogs were going nuts, and so I had to really listen to the bark to see, if it was like just barking at a cat or a dog or barking at people. So, anyways, there was a bunch of people across the street, I guess, having to get together, and there was people that, I almost think Emmy is, she just, if somebody doesn't look right or act right, then she's just going to bark and let them know that she knows that something's up. So she's very in tuned with bad behavior. So if a person is a person that's not a good person and has bad behavior, that she literally knows, she can detect that. It's crazy, but it's true. Okay, so getting back to the analogy I was talking about, the story. So the metaphor of this 9-year-old girl, she has an older brother. He's doing things around her. He's already touched her once. It started with the wrestling, then the tickling in the inner thighs, and then the touching. And then from there, he's starting to become a predator of manipulation. The easiest form of child molestation is going to be someone they know, not a stranger. Molestation is usually comes from a family member or a distant relative or a friend of the family, a neighbor, someone that they know, that they're already around. That's where a predator comes in, and more than likely that's where molestation happens, is of course, being sexually assaulted is different than molestation. Molestation is strictly from the demographics, the people that I said. It's either a family member, a distant family member, a friend of the family that's close, a neighbor that's close, someone that is already in that child's life. Okay. So getting back to that, we are discovering that this young 9-year-old girl is seeing things. So he will come and sit down on the couch and say, you can stay up and watch TV with me. And she thinks it's a game, and how cool is that? It's a school night and she needs to be in bed, but yet he's going to let her watch TV. And so he'll turn on inappropriate, shows for a 9-year-old, and it will look funny and, comedy wise, but then there's, inappropriate, scenes for a 9-year-old to watch, like, sex scenes. And then he says, you want to see more of that? And she's intrigued because she's a 9-year-old little girl, and the imagination at that age, there you have a very strong imagination, and you're very intrigued. And when you're a little girl, the one thing that you want, like most little girls, is a Prince Charming, to be loved, a fantasy of that and what that feels like, because you watch Disney movies, all your life of love. And so even at that age, you want like to know the feeling of having a boy, kiss you or be nice to you or want to be your boyfriend, that kind of thing. This is for this particular girl. And so the brother brings his computer down from stairs, downstairs, and he turns on, some free porn. and he is watching it, and she is sitting beside him watching it, and he is explaining what is going on in the video. And this is where a predator for molestation starts. It starts with these little bitty moments. And then he says, shh, don't tell mom that we're watching this. This is private. This is a secret between me and you. Okay, can we have a secret? And when you're a kid and you see an adult of any kind saying, hey, let's share a secret, you're all over it. Okay. So this girl is feeling like very special because her and her brother are bonding, and she's now going to get to keep a secret between them. And then he starts rubbing on himself, and he, eventually gets to an erection, and his sister sitting beside him is seeing that. Okay. And I'm not going to go into any more graphic. We're just going to stop it right there. Okay. Let's jump to when she is 13. She's already experienced in her life pornographic, watching a man, pleasure himself to pornographic, and getting a feeling inside of her, because sex does feel good. Pleasuring yourself, it's a fun feeling. It's a good feeling, so she begins to start exploring her own, sexual desires and body. And she will watch video after video after video, and she gets so addicted to watching it that she now wants to explore it. And she wants to be able to, do it with someone live. And that's at 13. Okay. By the time, let's jump another 10 years, 23. She has been very sexually active since the age of 13. So for 10 years, she's been sexually active. She is a heavy drinker. She parties a lot. And she has already had 2 abortions. And she stocks up on condoms and the morning after pill. She, has a job and just is right now in between friends, sleeping on their couch, no car. And she is struggling. And she could be listening to me talking right now. And she never told her mom. She never even talked to her brother again about it. Let's say that was the only time. Okay. And she wakes up one night and has a horrible, traumatic memory cross her mind of that. And then she starts analyzing her life at the time, 23 years old. And she realizes that she's mentally sick. She has a problem. And now she's addicted to sex. And that's her drug of choice, is being with lots and lots of men and watching lots of porn. And now she has this history of being a failure. No man wants to commit to her because she, sleeps with him, quickly. She jokes and says how much fun she is, but deep down she wants to be normal or feel normalcy. There's no such thing as normal. The word normal, that has been misinterpreted for generations. What she is trying to find is peace in her mind. So I don't like using the word normal, because that's just unrealistic. If you grew up like I did and thought that, when you watch Leave It to Beaver, and how June Beaver was the perfect mom, and she, that was just such the perfect family, and they loved each other, and the worst thing that they did was, throw a baseball through, the neighbor's, window, and they got in trouble for it, and and a spank on the hand and things like that. That is a facade of a non-existence reality. It is a fantasy. There is no such thing as a human being that is normal. We misuse that word. And the only way we know that is we've done research on it for years. Psychologists have. My own psychologist said, don't use the word normal, because every life, every human being has a different situation, and their situation isn't better than yours. Don't compare your life to this person's life. Don't compare your situation because this person didn't experience the same situation. That's where you don't use the word normal. So when we're writing down where it triggered and how we want to stop our current behavior, bad behaviors, we have to find the source. We can't just go to therapy and think that that's going to, to do it. No, you have to start with finding the source and then the whys. When I say why, if you haven't watched some of the other videos, it's WHY. Why did this happen to me? Why did I not tell somebody? Why did I not have a voice? What am I going to do now to change my current behaviors and to help my mental health state of mind change for the better so I can be better? Sorry, I completely did not turn my cell phone off, and I apologize because that's really rude. So that's where, we're at. And when you start journaling every day, if you will write down 4 emotions of that first encounter of when it started, and then work your way through the steps. And I'm going to explain more of that as we get along further, but let's just start today with the steps of discovery. Discovery, getting in a quiet place, finding out where and when it happened, and did it happen once? Did it happen multiple times? That's okay, but write it down. Make it feel real. Okay? When you write something down, say it out loud. This happened to me, or I remember this happening to me at this age. I believe I was this age. And tell yourself the story, but read the story back to yourself and get as close and as accurate as possible, and be honest with yourself about that. Don't lie to yourself. Don't make it sound like a story out of a Hollywood movie. Just be honest. Be brutally honest with yourself, because until you can be that way, you're never going to know the power of healing the mind and restoring balance and peace to cope with mental illness. I mean, I'm not a therapist. I tell you guys this, but I have enough years behind me to know that these things are accurate. They are true. If you don't get to the truth, if you're not honest with yourself, 100% honest, no matter how hard it is, you got to be honest with yourself. You have to write it down. You want this to change? You want to be the best version of yourself? You don't just get your outward physical body healthy. You get your inward body healthy, and it starts with the mind. Starts with your thought process. And that's where you begin. Okay? Write down just 4 emotions. And if you have more emotions with it, that's fine too. But when we're talking strictly about how it made you feel, after you write it out, you then put the word emotions, and then, bullet points of, these are the emotions I felt. So I felt afraid, scared, and afraid are the same. So just pick one of those, okay? I felt ashamed. I felt dirty. I felt sad. I felt angry. Whatever it is, you need to express those emotions of how you felt so you can know where it is you need to focus on. Because your behavior, your current behaviors that you're doing every single day, what drives you to do those behaviors? What is it that drives you? That. And I go back to really good thing about, being a woman of my generation was that we got to see what it was like before the sexual harassment laws came into place. And, you had to sign off on every single piece of document, paper. If you ever felt uncomfortable, you were to immediately report it to, HR. But that didn't happen in my generation. My generation, our bosses, there was a numerous times our bosses were inappropriate with verbal abuse, physical, mental manipulation, everything, and in the work environment. And that's where it was. So I experienced a lot of disrespectful older men coming on to me and, verbally being inappropriate. And today we have resources for our daughters, our sons, our grandkids, the young people right now in our lives, our family members that are young, under the age of 18, or even under the age of 25. They have the resources. They know the awareness is out there. The Me Too movement is out there. They know how serious it is that this is inappropriate behavior. But I got to see the other side, where it was pushed under the rug. Hush, hush. Oh, you should feel special because you're pretty. So if a man hits on you, oh, just take it as a compliment. Well, no, I don't take it as a compliment when it's inappropriate and he's talking about pull your shirt up and let me see what type of bra you're wearing. That's inappropriate. And, it wasn't necessarily talked about, So when you became a young adult and you're on your own and you're in college and you're working and you're in an environment of fun and, you're active, in the community and so forth, and you experience someone, saying an inappropriate thing to you, you have emotions behind it. That is mental trauma just as much, being sexually harassed in your work environment. So dreading going to work or quitting that job instead of speaking up. But even back then, if you spoke up, they didn't do shit about it. Unfortunately, they just would I don't know, move you to a different department. They didn't do anything about it. They don't, not like now. Now they actually do something about it. They do an investigation. They, they're real good about it. So I'm very thankful that my children and my grandchildren will have that type of protection from the laws of sexual harassment in any form or fashion, whether my child is straight, gay, transgender, whatever, they will have the protection, the resources. People will want to listen, especially in our school system, because sexual harassment starts with, just because of my age, I'm only giving this analogy. Sexual harassment starts with, you're a younger girl, he's an older boy, he's, showing you interest because you are weak and you are his next victim. He already has a predatory mind. And so you think it's the best thing in the world that this older boy thinks you're amazing and cute, and he wants to call you on the phone and he wants to take you out on a date, and he'll take you out on the date and you'll think you're going to go into town and have dinner and he's going to bring you roses and hold your hand. But instead he takes you to a field and he turns on the radio and he talks about the stars and he's doing his manipulation, and he's kissing you, and he's touching you, and then he sticks his hand, down your pants, and then that's when it begins. And I remember my very first time that happened to me at a young age, of an older boy who liked me, and we, you know, we were very much secretly talking, because if my mother found out that I was talking to such an older boy, she would have came in and tore everything in my room apart, and locked me in there for a week. She would have lost her mind. But that older boy was showing me attention, and I was only 12, 13, I guess. I think I was 12 when that happened. And he would say things, and he would tell me how pretty I was, and how pretty my hair was, and how good I smelled. And he would say, "Have you ever kissed a boy?" And I would say, "Yes." And then he would say, "Well, show me." And then I would show him. And then that's where the manipulation started. And then he would touch me in places that I haven't been touched before. And it wasn't a feel of, oh, this boy is, no, I liked this boy. I wanted him to like me. So I allowed that boy to touch me inappropriately in between my legs, because I liked the boy. I wanted him to like me. So I felt like that was the only way I could do it, was letting him, fill me up. And I was 12 and he was 17. And it's not like I was one of those 12-year-olds that was developed. I was flat. I was an athlete already, playing tennis. And, I didn't look like a woman. I looked like a young, skinny little girl. It wasn't like, I had this, all of a sudden look of a woman. No, I was young, and I had no breast. I was very flat chested, and I didn't have womanly features yet. So for this very handsome 17-year-old boy to want to pay attention to me, it was like I was living on cloud nine. I was living in a dream. And when I told one of my friends at that time, it was cool. It was like, "Oh my gosh, are you serious? Some older guy that much older than you likes you? Wow." And I was like, "Yeah, he's in high school. He's a senior in high school. And I might even get to go to prom." And here I am, 12 years old, thinking all these fantasies, making these plans with this 17-year-old kid. And his whole intention was to, touch a virgin and manipulate her to give him your body, your whole entire body. And it started with the whole of him pretending to like me. So I let him do that a few times, and it went on for, maybe a month or so. And then he got frustrated with me and he said, "We have to have sex. This is not going to work for me. We're going to have sex. This is something you're going to be okay. You're already prepared because I've been getting you to come by touching you, so it's not going to be any much different than my hands, my fingers." And this is where the whole, "No, I'm not going to do this. This is wrong." And I stopped it. And then the next day, he ignored me. He stopped talking to me. And I was crushed. And I had to tell, my friends that, he was mean to me now. But now he's mean to me. So what do? I do everything to get him to like me again. That's how the manipulation works. And I would write notes and, give it to my sister to give to him. I would call him on the phone, leave messages, and I would, even ride my bike down to where he lived. That's how desperate I was. I made cookies for him. I did everything. And all he wanted was to feel, because he's been with several girls by this age. So he's already been sexually developed. I wasn't even close to being sexually developed. I didn't even realize that I could be touched down there with, a boy could touch me and I would orgasm. I didn't even realize at that age that could even happen. I thought it had to be a penis to make you orgasm. I mean, I that's how dumb I was about this. And I just remember chasing this guy for weeks and he would just ignore me. And then all of a sudden one day I came to school and there was "slut" written on my locker. And I'm in the 7th grade. And that got written on my locker. And somehow he talked to a 9th grader that was at the junior high, and he told her the opposite story of what we did and didn't do. And he said that I went all the way, and he said that I liked it. And he said, "Well, if she likes it and she's in the 7th grade, why won't you give it to me? You're older than her." And she said, "Oh, well, I'm not going to ever do that. I can't believe she did that. She's a slut." So that 9th grader started bullying me because he told her the opposite, because he was trying to manipulate and, be predatory towards this other girl as well. And I just remember how devastated I was and how embarrassed I was. And my friends were like, "Andie, are you okay? Sunshine, what's going on?" And I said, "It's just a rumor. I've never had sex. This is a rumor. This is a lie." And it took oh my gosh, I just remember it took 3 or 4 months for it to finally stop with these older girls that would just ridicule me, and I had to get my sister involved, I had to get her to go beat up these girls. I mean, that's how crazy it was. It was that bad. And I didn't do anything wrong. But the trauma from that experience, having to be bullied by girls who think that you're this slut at 12 years old and you give up for older boys and you're going to be that girl that's going to be easy and do that. Yeah, it was very, very hard time for me. And I tried to talk to my older sisters, about it. And I had an older sister that was 7 years older, and she was already married. Or no, she wasn't married. She was, I guess, engaged or something. But I just remember, asking her about it and what should I do, and she said, you can't do nothing. Once you get called that, it's like your reputation is ruined. And that's the way it was in the 80s, 90s. It just, Mean Girls, they even made a movie about it, with Rachel McAdams, that was just completely exactly what it was. Mean Girls. Jealous girls, I guess, whatever you want to call it. But I didn't look anything like a woman at the age of 12 is what I'm getting at. I was very much a jock. I was into fashion, but I didn't have the body that when you think back then what a slut looks like, you think of like a prostitute or a stripper or a woman that's voluptuous, I didn't look like that at the age of 12. Now, for today, yes, I have womanly features. Yes, I have an hourglass figure. Yes, I'm in good shape. But at the age of 12, I wasn't. So getting back to that was another trigger of trauma that I went through, going through a boy lying about me doing things to him and sleeping with him and going all the way. And I had just started, junior high. It was horrible. And it was extremely hard. And then I never wanted to be called that name ever again. So I changed my character of who I was to mask that pain. I didn't want to be called a slut. I didn't want to be betrayed as a slut. So I made sure that I didn't do anything at all to have that be a reflection of who I was. So I immediately said, well, I have to change this. I don't want people to think this way. I can't go through junior high and high school thinking people, or boys especially, thinking that I was a slut. So I isolated myself. I just hung out with my tennis friends. I did a lot of things that were completely just of isolation, going into that depression. I just remember I didn't even tell my mom. But then what happened was the rejection from that boy, even though he hurt me in the end, the rejection from him, it wired my subconscious side of my brain into being a desperate, a woman of thinking that she needs a man to feel whole. It turned me into, if he doesn't like me, there's something wrong with me, so I need to change myself immediately to get this person to like me. And whenever I did come of age and get married, and I chose to finally have a sexual, of course, relationship with my husband, I didn't enjoy it. It was painful to me. It was unpleasant. It was hard. And it all went back to that moment of being sexually harassed, sexually assaulted without asking me if it was okay. He would just do it, and it felt good, so I didn't say anything. I didn't speak up. And that was something that, never was taught to me. Because once you let them, they're going to keep doing it until you tell them to stop. So that was my experience. And so it turned into, when I became of age and I became where I was married and had a sexual relationship, it was literally, I hated it. I didn't enjoy it. I complained about it. I didn't want to do it at all. Didn't enjoy it. And, from that trauma to, going into being a young wife and then quickly mother, I then had a reason not to have sex because I had a baby. And I was, all about that baby. And I didn't have to, because I had a reason. Yeah. So sharing a little bit about that with you guys, I hope you can relate in a way where you can feel yourself in a similar situation and know that it's okay. And it's okay to talk about it. And it's okay to share your story, because it helps us deal with our mental, and physical and emotional abuse that we experienced. And we can overcome, we can cope, and we can deal with that. I will tell you just the journey that when I started this, it was analyzing every relationship, from my last relationship to my very first encounter with, kissing a boy, analyzing it, going back and forth. Why? I had a lot of whys and a lot of emotions behind each why. Yeah. And I just remember it being very difficult to open up and talk about it. And you just didn't talk about that. And I was told at a young age by my own mother that it's my obligation to be available and to, make sure that I give my husband plenty and plenty of sex. Because if I don't, then he will leave me and he'll cheat on me. And then you will be, destroyed and become, a single mother. And then your life would be ruined. And this is my mother speaking to me. And even after years of pain with that first marriage, it was extremely hard to trust another man, because that was the first time in a very long committed relationship that I went through mentally, emotionally, and physical pain in that relationship. And I became very angry. And I did not trust any man besides my father. I was petrified. I was scared. And I thought, how could I have ever married this person and had, a child with this person when he was completely a predator himself? And he would, he would force me all the time when I didn't want to. And this is hard, it's not easy to talk about, but it's also very brave to talk about, and to talk about how being a young mom and doing things that I didn't want to do because I was told that, if I didn't, then I would end up being a single mom. And that was the worst thing that could ever happen to a woman back then. And times have changed, And it all triggers back. So I have a sibling who has been married for over 30 years. They have a loving, successful marriage. And it wasn't always perfect, but they got through the hard times. They worked together as a team. They raised two incredible young men who are now very, very successful in life. And they also helped my youngest son and took on a role that I was very grateful that they helped me with, and gave him a sense of stability. That I couldn't give him, because I could never get the relationship part right with a man to give, my children the balanced home life of having a mom and a dad that were mentally balanced. I always picked the partners that I was way off balance with. We had just as much anger and passion, but we sucked at living together. I was OCD. I was a clean freak. I was, all these things. And he was a slob, or, he was lazy. He didn't want to, fight for the promotion at work, or, vice versa, where I wanted to be taken care of for a change and I didn't want to work for a period of time. And he would complain at me because he didn't want to take care of me. I could give you several, reasons why relationships have failed for me. But the biggest reason relationships have failed for me in my past is because I did not look at my mental health and analyze it and deal with my subconscious, deal with the way I was wired. I wanted to be one way, and men wanted me to be the other way. I wanted to have a voice. I wanted to speak my mind. If I was angry, I wanted to have permission to be angry, or even so, I didn't want to ask permission from a man to be angry or to be sad or to show emotion, because my father allowed me to do that. My father allowed me to cry, to be angry, to vent, to be emotional. And his response was with love and advice. And he would hold me and comfort me like a father's supposed to. I didn't get that in my romantic relationships. I got, stop crying, or even worse. What is wrong with you? You're so crazy. Oh, that was the worst. I always got defensive when all the men in my past have told me I was crazy. But now that this new journey that I've been on is now balanced and is starting to come to the realization that this actually is working, that I'm actually healing my mind from the inside out, and I'm able to see that being by myself and being unapologetic for being by myself versus being that young girl that used to be so desperate for a cute guy's attention that she would transform who she really was to get him to like her. So she didn't have a voice. See, I was that girl. And I think a lot of you women that are listening have been that girl, or you may still be that girl. But it's not who you are. I'm here to help you to discover who you really are. If you have a gut feeling about something, it's usually the absolute truth. So if your gut feeling is, if I don't do this, he's going to break up with me. If I don't act a certain way, he's not going to want to see me anymore, and he's going to choose another girl to date. If you're already having those thoughts in your mind, let me tell you, it's not worth it. If a man is making you feel like that already and you're having those thoughts, he's the wrong partner for you, because he is supposed to be very similar to our Heavenly Father and our if we did have a good father growing up. Some of us did, some of us didn't. I was really, really blessed to have one. Very protective, very humbling, non-judging, So I got one parent that was pretty close to perfect, okay? And every man that I dated didn't even come close to the way he treated me. But then I had such a bad pattern of picking men that I had to chase and I had to capture because I didn't want to lose them, because I thought I needed them to feel whole inside. And if I didn't have an attractive man beside me, then people would think there's something wrong with me, that I can't keep a man, I can't do for a man, whatever. Everybody else's outward opinions about me and my personal life and why I'm still single was so on the verge of my thinking that it drove me insane to insanity. And when you experience insanity, it is the pattern that you've been doing over and over and over and thinking you're going to get a different result. Albert Einstein said it. Doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. That is the absolute definition of insanity. But you get to the point where you actually want to quit and just be okay with yourself and be okay with being by yourself. And when you want to go out on a date, you'll go out on a date. When you want to have a company of a man, it's your choice when you want that, not theirs. And you may look intimidated for a man to approach you, but wouldn't you rather that man feel intimidated by you than thinking he can manipulate you? Because manipulation was extremely easy for me to fall for. I fell for that manipulation for years. Just so I wouldn't be alone. But I wasn't going to settle either. I wanted the total package. I wanted what I was trying to attract, what I wanted. So I would look the part, be the perfect girlfriend. But inside, Sunshine wasn't getting to be herself. She wasn't getting to have her own voice. She had to stay silent in order to keep the man in her life 100% happy. His happiness became her first priority, even over her children's happiness. And that's the raw truth. It's not something I am proud of, not proud at all. But it was learning experience that taught me, don't ever be that woman again. Don't ever chase a man again. Don't ever be too available for a man again. Learn how to play the game. And it is a game. You have to just learn how to play it and be very patient. And when you get to the point where your happiness is the priority and taking care of your kids and taking care of your grandkids and being there for your family members, your community, and your calling, and your church family, whoever it is, the group, the community, the people that are your people, that is your priority. But you have to be the number one priority. And I say this in love. If you don't love yourself, you are not good to others around you, not even your own children. Now think about that. If you do not love yourself, you're not being the best version of yourself to be the best version to even your own children, parents, siblings, whoever, wife, husband. And until you learn to reprogram your thought process, your thinking, the way you react, what triggers that trauma, and until you get to the point where you want the change, you're going to be on that hamster wheel, I guess you can say, because I'm doing it this way. But I was going to say like roller coaster, but same difference, same metaphor. And you're never going to get off. Never. And you're going to be miserable inside. And you're going to be like, oh, wanting to blame everybody else. Well, don't blame everybody else. Blame yourself for not wanting to take the steps to change. But then get over it. Waddle for a minute, be sad for a minute, and then get off your butt and do something about it. Because until you take action, you can't change your thought process. And it doesn't happen overnight. It's a period of consistent stability, emotional change, recognizing your behavior patterns, what triggers you. Is it people, places, things, situations, environments, what? And to be successful in this world, you have to have the mind in a calm manner so you can use more of your brain cells to make better, wiser decisions for you, your family, your life, your future, your now. It's not an easy thing to talk about. That's why I am being a platform. I am showing you that it's time for a change, and I am here to help. I'm here to listen. I'm here to say, let's do this journey together. Let me help you, because these resources, these tools have helped me. I'm not asking you to pay for anything. I'm not asking you to pay to watch my channel. I'm not asking you to go out and buy a bunch of, books. I'm just asking you to try a few simple steps that I did. One of them is journaling, finding out the source, the awareness. When did it start? Was it a pattern? Does it now make sense to the reason why your behavior patterns are the way you are now? Is it because of that trauma? If it is, let's work the steps. But saying all of that, you have to continue to want to work the steps. We only have one brain. And we've all heard the saying, oh, grandma, Nana, Meemaw, whoever, oh, she's old, she's set in her ways, she's never going to change. She's always going to think that way. She's set in her ways. Do you want to be that grandma? No, I don't. I don't want to be set in my ways because I have a bad attitude and you can't open the door and, because the flies are going to come in. I mean, come on, give me a fucking break. If you're at that age and you're that type and you already have that attitude of, well, I'm set in my ways, I don't need to work on my mental health. Everybody has accepted it. Well, they probably haven't accepted it. They're just dealing with it. They're just, how should I say this? They don't want to stir the pot. So they just ignore the problem, like you're ignoring the problem. But you're not very liked because you have that attitude of, oh, well, I'm set in my ways. If they don't like it, too bad. Why would you want to make the people you love around you miserable? Why would you want them to feel unease around you? Why would you want them to feel like they have to walk on eggshells around you? Why would you want to take their power away from them? Put fear on them? Why would you do that to someone you love? You wouldn't. Deep down, you wouldn't. You can be tough. You can be strong, but you don't have to degrade and be a narcissist and tear people down and take away and put fear on them and thinking that that's the only way that they'll be around you, as if you scare them into being your friend, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your kids, whatever. Don't do that. Don't do it. Make the change. Make the change for yourself. It'll add years to your life. It will. It'll add years to your life. You will want, because once you taste the change, just like with any addiction, once you taste it and you become addicted, you keep wanting it. So once you start seeing the transformation in your thought process, you're going to want to keep wanting it. Trust me. It is the most revolutionary, most internal, wonderful thing that you can do as a human being if we all took the time to get real with ourselves and get down to the truth and heal, transform, do the steps, get the resources, and be consistent. Be stable about it. Be on top of it and make our mental health a priority in our life, our world, our country, this entire planet would be a better place for our children and our grandchildren as they grow. Wouldn't you want that? I know I would. My own children are adult children, but they've already seen the suffering and the heartache and the pain of this world. And now I have these beautiful 2 granddaughters. One is almost 3, one is almost 1. I don't want them to have to see the way the world is and the way it's going. I would much rather them grow up in a world where people actually gave a fuck about themselves and learned how to love themselves by starting to change their thought process, their mind, transforming themselves from the inside out. Nobody's going to do it for you. Just like with addiction. I talked about this in one of my other videos, that alcohol was my biggest addiction. And when I got sober, it put a stop on me where it made me a better version of Sunshine that I've ever been. Yes, I've had, a lot of pain in my life, more pain in my life than joy. But now that I have been on this journey, I can say I now have more joy than reflecting on so much pain, because I don't reflect on it near as much as I used to. And that brought me a lot of more pain, because you can have pain from your past, but when you're constantly reflecting on it, that pain, and going over and over and over, you're just tearing yourself way down, and you're not loving yourself. So stop doing all that. As we say in Texas, put your bootstraps on, get back on the horse. Let's go for a ride. It's not easy, but this is what needs to happen for you to be the best version of yourself, to heal yourself, heal your mind. There are so many possibilities, so many goals, so much more successful you can be in life, just in life in general. Not with just your finances, not with your job, not with your children, your relationships, but just life in general. The good luck of life, the universe. There won't be a blockage of negative energy around you. So you will get the good energy coming to you from the universe, to where you feel and you want to change. And with that feeling comes happiness. And you start feeling happy, and even little moments. And then you start laughing. And when you laugh, That is therapy. True therapy is laughter. You know, it's funny because my cousin and I, we have this thing where if we don't feel motivated, then we will get on a podcast, or we will get on Netflix, or Hulu, or whatever channel we're on. Amazon Prime is what we've been on. And we will do a watch party, and we will literally watch comedy for a good 2 to 3 hours. And the reason why is because people telling jokes and comedy, it's a form of therapy. They are individuals that 90% of the comedians out there, that's what they do to deal with their mental health. They tell jokes, they entertain, people. And so watching comedy, laughter brings joy. It brings funness back into your heart, yourself, your mind, your soul. Waking up and being excited that you woke up today. Being excited that it's sunny outside and you get to take your dog for a walk before you go to work. Or you get to go to the gym and do more therapy for your mental state of mind, getting your body physically back in shape. I know when I work out, I feel so much better. And I get feeling like, man, I can't believe my joints after all these years are still going strong, And even though I have arthritis in my hands and my fingertips, especially, I experience a lot of numbness. It's still a joy for me to do a good workout and know that that workout has made me stronger physically. And I am still capable of using all of my joints, being mobile, being able to, play tennis still, being able to ride my bike, lift weights, just doing the things that make me me. That's the best version of me, is doing the things that I love. I love to play tennis. I love to lift weights. I love to turn my music on and get into beast mode. Motivational speakers are on my podcast constantly. I'm listening to, just good motivation in the morning time, writing stuff down on my mirror, sticky notes at work, things like that, getting yourself constantly pumped up, ready for the day, ready to take on any challenge. It all starts with waking up, making a choice. Am I going to stick to healing my mental illness? Or am I going to keep just putting a Band-Aid on it and saying, I'll do it later? I'll take this pill and I'll feel okay for today. I've talked a little bit on the other videos about taking medication. If you're seeing a doctor and you're taking your medication correctly, keep doing it. Do it until you learn how you can do without it. But don't do it forever, because there are side effects. And the biggest side effect that they have discovered in medicine today, with depression medication, anxiety medication, any medication that is supposed to be for the mind and to numb the mind, whatever medication it is, all of it has major side effects, and they are seeing more studies are being shown right now in 2023. More studies are being shown that those medications causes Alzheimer's, losing your mind. So which is it? You want to have a fucked up mind and then lose it? What kind of life is that? Or do you want to get your mind healthy and prevent ever getting Alzheimer's, dementia? What's important to you? Why do you want this? To live longer, to be a better person, to love yourself, to be better to your kids, to be better to your, the people around you, to be a better wife, to be a better husband, a better boyfriend. What is your motivation to wanting to sit here and listen to this, girl from Texas that, has gone through, mental health almost her entire life? I guess I could say right at 40 years of being mentally ill. So don't you think I understand how you feel? May not have been the exact same trauma, but believe me, I'm much better at understanding how you feel and how you want the change and what you have to do to make the change than a psychologist who just graduated college and had a silver spoon in her mouth and, come from a rich family and she's just doing it to bypass her time until she marries somebody on the East Coast with money and a Fortune 500, family company. I mean, give me a break. You think that young girl or young boy, young man knows what you're going through? No. I always said it's better to connect with somebody real, somebody who will speak the truth about mental health and mental illness than somebody who will just write a prescription for you and say, take 2 of these and I'll see you in a month. And they don't even give a fuck about what just happened in the car with your, narcissistic partner and how you regret having to walk out of this office, that door, and have to go sit in the car with that person for 30 minutes in traffic, to go home, to lock yourself in the bathroom and cry for an hour while he goes or she goes and drinks. I've been there, but I'm not there anymore. And it's just because I made the decision I won't ever put myself in those environments that hurt my environment, that takes away my peace, my whole harmony of being at my home, and it is full of joy and hope and harmony and peace. But it wasn't always like this. This is a journey that took me all this time to get here. But now that I'm here, I know that this is my destiny. This is my calling, to reach out to people like myself, like you, like that friend that you're concerned about, like that boyfriend or that girlfriend that you want to help. And we'll talk in another video about the behaviors of mental illness and why people deny it. We'll talk about that in another video. But for now, I'm going to sign off and leave you guys with a little bit of my sunshine rays on you. Just sprinkle a little sunshine fairy dust on you and say this: it's never too late to want and do, not just want, but and do the work to change your thought process, to heal the mind, to cope with mental illness, and to get back who you are destined to be in this world. We get one shot because death is inevitable. Just like change. Change is inevitable. It's always going to be change. It's how we handle change, how we react to change, how we adapt to change. Well, death is inevitable. We are going to die at some point in our life. We don't know when, but we know we are. People around us are going to die at some point in our life. We don't know when, but we know that they are. I am going to have the right links after each video. I'm still working to get this technology set up to where you have 24-hour contact services, resources, because if you're at the point where you feel like there's no hope and you want to go ahead and end your life, I promise you, there's still hope inside you. You can do this. If you've lost everything and lost everybody, you can still do this and transform your mind and your life for the better. Because I'm sitting here right now telling you that I have experienced loss of everything, loss of people, loss of environments, loss of income, loss of relationships, loss of transportation, loss of food, loss of worth. And I overcame several hundred times, kept fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting for my life, because I knew that this life was worth living, and I just didn't know how to get there. I didn't know how. I didn't know why I wanted to live. I just wanted to live. And now that I'm living and I know my why, and I know the steps that it took me to get to this journey and to continue working the journey and continue working the steps, has made me the better version of me. And I am happy to be around just me. And people are happier to be around this version of Sunshine Andy than the old version. That's all I'm going to say. You can do this. I have this little chalkboard that I write little notes on it. And it says, well, backwards, but it says, you got this. So I'm going to say it to you before I go. You got this. I promise you, you got this. You can transform your mind and cope with mental illness and be healthier mentally so you can be the best version of yourself and have happiness and joy back in your life and have peace of mind. Peace. The number one reason we were chosen to be human beings so we can experience the understanding of it all. Come on this journey with me. I promise you, it can transform and change your life for the better. And you will live a happier and healthier life because of it. Sunshine Andy, sending out my sunshine rays over you guys. Make your day, every day, wake up, make that choice to want to change your mind, the thought process, your subconscious. Bring good energy around you. Make that choice. I promise you, you will feel so much better mentally and physically. It'll help you. You'll be so excited when you start the process that you'll keep going. It'll be natural for you to wake up and journal and set yourself some goals and be productive with those goals and be proud that you succeeded and you took those steps. And now you can continue and you can talk about it. Hey, you know what? I took these steps and I feel better. It's only been a week, but I feel great. Wait until you get to where it's a year. Wait until you get to where it's 2 years. Then ask yourself, how do you feel? If you are consistently taking these steps, this journey, if you're consistently doing this, how are you feeling? What are your emotions then going to be like? I know what mine have become, and they're all on the positive side, believe me. I no longer have to take medication for anxiety because my mind, I don't have a fear anymore. Fear does not steer my ship. Fear and worry about the people I love, the places I go to, when I get in the car, death, all these things. I have conquered that in my own personal journey. I don't experience fear. I experience release. And I understand why I let fear drive my life for so long. So when you get to that point where you have an understanding about it, then you're fearless. You love yourself. You love yourself enough to want to help people with nothing in return but to see their lives transform. That's the true joy I want to see. That if I can help just one person and their lives are transformed for the better because they wanted to change and get their mind mentally healthy again and learn how to cope the right way with mental illness, and their lives started transforming for the better. That's the true joy behind my destiny, is to see that in you as well as myself. I'm here. I'm here to listen. I'm just one voice. But let's talk. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.